Hello and welcome. Good morning. If I get this posted in the morning, if you're listening in the morning, I still remain very enthusiastic about getting up in the morning. Over the past few weeks, I've been going to bed earlier because I'm excited to get up in the morning and get some coffee, and it's still dark, and my puppies are sleeping, and I get to write my book. So I'm getting into a nice habit. It feels good. And I just wanted to share that. I've been doing some work, as I mentioned yesterday, on my website and branding and stuff. And I think come to a close with that, which is good because I need my head to kind of settle. Because I've been very symptomatic because I mean, you know this about me. I get super excited about things. I'm a very excitable person, and I can't seem to stop myself. So I've been very symptomatic. But I mention this because I wanted to say that I posted a picture on Facebook, and it's me, but it is AI generated. The background is like AI generated. So I posted it. It was kind of a test a little bit because I wanted to see if people would say, um, a nice AI picture or something like that. But it just like got a bunch of likes, and people were like, "Oh, it's a gorgeous picture and stuff." And I didn't post it to get compliments, although they felt good to have those compliments. So what I did was, um, I happen to be someone who loves AI because it's been very helpful to me with my disability and my vision limitations. So I get to do a lot of the things that I used to do in my career, but I do them differently. And I mentioned that yesterday too. So I get to use AI to like generate things that in the past I used to be able to create. So yesterday, I used Adobe Firefly to create a moving video version of that picture that I posted on Facebook. And if you don't know what picture it is, it's my new profile picture. Um, so I decided yesterday, and if you were paying attention and if you actually watched the video instead of the audio for this podcast, it was the intro. So if you didn't see it, go back and look at it. So then yesterday evening, I sent that intro to Bailey and my friend that I reference a lot of times. She used to be in my department, and now she's just one of my best friends. And she does digital design. So I sent it to her and I sent it to Bailey. And I just said, look at this. That's all I said. And then Bailey, not only did she say, that's creepy, but she called me because she was so adamant that I do not use that AI version of me for my podcast. She felt that it was very inauthentic uh, to market or brand a podcast that is all about authenticity, to put an inauthentic video of me. So I could totally appreciate that. And I appreciated her feedback. And I thought it was interesting that at her age, um, that she could recognize that. She's very mature for her age. When I think in comparison to how I was at that age, no. So anyway, that was really great feedback, and I appreciated that. And then my digital designer friend said that although it's clear that it's AI, um, it works because it's almost like it can be seen as like a digitized cartoonish version of me, even though it looks like real life. And she was like, I don't think it, I think that it works fine as your intro. Well, after talking to Bailey, I was like, you know, I think I'm gonna change it. It because it just I get it. It's just it's not me. And it's like me drinking a cup of coffee and smiling. And I I get challenged between my ears, separating my excitement for the technology that that's even possible to do that now, to do something like that, to generate a moving image of myself. I get excited about that technology and can't quite disconnect from, is this a good idea? And if I can just pause and comment that it seems like just corporately, like the world is having that problem, um, drawing that line between having a technology that's available and making that decision, is this a good idea? And more often than not, what I am hearing and seeing is that companies are leaning more towards, it's fascinating that this technology exists, and they're not thinking about, is this a good idea? Uh, and I'll stop there. I'll stop there because I think it's going to negatively affect a lot of companies, but it's going to take time for that to happen. Okay, so I'm going to get off my soapbox about AI. What do I want to talk about today? Oh, so right. So did I change it? Yes. So today the intro is going to be the same as the outro, which does not have me. It is an AI image and it's very peaceful. Those of you who are listening to the audio and not seeing the video, you'll notice that the music changed and it's more of a like just a cozy lake life feel. That's what I was going for, and I like it. So there you have it. Now let's get into the topic. So today, what I wanted to talk about is what is known as the four absolutes. And I'm over 10 years in sobriety. And I don't know anything about the four absolutes. I've only heard them referenced like in the past couple years. Like my sponsor, my newest sponsor that I acquired before I moved to this new neighborhood, I think she mentioned the four absolutes. Somebody mentioned them to me. I was like, what's that? So the four absolutes came from the Oxford group before AA was formed and were used to as like a daily moral inventory. They're not part of the 12 steps, but they remain like a guide for a lot of people in sobriety to examine their motives and their actions, and even like what's happening between their ears. So because of this, I wanted to look at them. So I'm doing this in real time. So what I did was I took a bunch of notes on what I understand of the four absolutes, just the brief amount that I've heard about it. And and rather than like than thinking about it before I hit record, what I wanted to do was think about it out loud after I hit record. So that's what we're doing, which is what we do on most days. So I have an outline, as I always do, for guidance, so I don't forget what I'm talking about because of my cognitive um, disorder, but I don't have it planned what I'm gonna say. So this will be fun, right? Okay. Okay, so the four absolutes. So what I do know is that sobriety is not just not picking up a drink. It's it's emotional sobriety. Um, and it's a guide for living. It's a guide that helps us become the person that we were always capable of being before alcohol got in the way, before alcohol complicated um, our perception of the world. So the four absolutes, as I understand them, are four questions. How loving have I been? How kind have I been? How honest have I been? And how pure have I acted? Um, these remind me of step 10 inventory, but it seems to me like they're coming from more of a positive angle rather than like when I do my step 10 inventory, when I'm going to bed at night and I'm thinking about my day and I'm thinking about my interactions, which is like an automatic process that I go through when I'm going to bed. And I like to do it before I actually lay down in bed. So before I get on my knees and I do my prayers and I thank God for my sobriety and not smoking and the willingness to recover and my body, and I ask thy will be done, not mine. I like to do this 10-step inventory before that. But what I used to do was I had this little pamphlet that's like the size of a business card. And in it, there were like the third step prayer, the 10th step prayer, the seventh step prayer. And then on the other side, like every side of this little pamphlet was filled. And one of them was 10 step inventory. And it's like two small paragraphs or one small paragraph that's pulled directly from step 10. And it was like, where have I been? Angry, afraid, resentful, all the things that are negative words. And so I would think about it like so in summary, where did I fuck up today? Where was um, where was I not my best self today? And do I need to make up for it somewhere? Like, do I need to say I'm sorry somewhere? That's how I would summarize it. So these four absolutes, as I look at them, seem more like a positive spin. Um, how loving have I been? So that's interesting because I feel like just off the cuff, how loving have I been? How loving have I been? Doesn't that seem like it's grammatically wrong? I have been. No, it's correct. How loving have I been? Say that like 10 times and it's not going to feel good. It feels wrong. Okay. How loving have I been? I can't get past that. It's, I think it's inspiring action. That's what it pulls from me like right away is like where have I been? And it's already doing it. It's already doing the opposite of step 10 inventory. Where have I been patient? Where have I been forgiving? Where have I been compassionate? Where have I been understanding? You see, so it's like it's more encouraging than it is like, where did I screw up? Because that's what it feels like when I'm doing step 10. It's like, where did I make mistakes? And this where I don't want to say it again. How loving have I been? Um, it's more like where was I great and how could I be greater? Where was I passionate, um, forgiving, loving, and how could I have done better? And it's like encouraging myself. Um, Now I think we can look at those ideas about patience, forgiveness, compassion, and understanding, and look at the boundaries that we create in order to encourage them. But boundaries still doesn't feel negative. It feels protective. So I'm no longer looking at where have I been fearful and guilty and, and looking more at where have I given and do I have more to give? And really that's one of the greatest gifts of sobriety is being able to give, is to our cuppeth our cuppeth run over. Our cup runneth over and having more to give than I could before. So where was I able to genuinely and thoroughly love other people? So that's how I would look at the first one. The second one, how kind have I been? So um, and it's probably because I just wrote this section of my book about back when I was working in my career, and I've talked about this before. My boss had told me that sometimes I could come across as a bitch. He didn't say it like that, but that's what he meant. And he encouraged me to try to articulate what I'm saying in nicer words than I would normally use. So be overly nice, like overly kind, overly like, you know what I mean? And so it became an experiment for me. And I started trying to be a bit more enthusiastic than felt natural. I would use inflection in my voice much more than what felt natural. I would be, um, I would treat others so much more like loving, I guess kind, right? Kinder than I normally would. So like for example, if somebody were to say hello to me, okay, what feels natural to me is saying, "Hey, how's it going?" And instead I started saying, "Hi, it's beautiful outside today. How are you doing?" Something like that. Something that's just like, "Whoa, lady, you've what was in your coffee this morning?" That kind of thing. And I found that in doing that experiment and sharing a little more kindness than what felt natural in an ordinary moment by using more inflection in my voice, by trying to be like it's an internal change. It started out as an external experiment where I wanted to convey something, but what it actually did was just like you put a smile on your face and a smile on the inside will come. It's just like that. When I was expressing myself more positively with more inflection in my voice, what I found the effects to be were inside, I became more patient. So when I started treating others with this extreme kindness, like let's call it super kindness, when I was expressing myself to others with super kindness, um, that same kindness and grace became internal to me. Like I started to feel that kindness inwardly towards myself. And I think that for sure in sobriety, however I treat myself is how I'm going to treat others, and however I treat others is how I'm going to treat myself. That's been my experience. So looking at that from this, what are they called again? The four absolutes. Looking at it from the perspective of the four absolutes, that's how I would look at how kind have I been. Um, I would include myself in that analysis. So, okay, the next one is how honest have I been? So I have found over the course of the decade that I've been sober, honesty is not in question anymore. It's interesting when I look back at prior to getting sober and then the first, I don't know, definitely the first year of being sober. Um, it's like I grew in honesty. Honesty became more natural. Honesty took on a whole different meaning. I didn't even see the ways that I was being dishonest because like I was talking about in the previous what are they called? I'm not going to remember this. Absolute. In the previous absolute about being kind, it's it's more than being honest with others. It's being honest with myself. How honest have I been with myself? If I'm honest with myself, then it's automatic I'm going to be honest with others. But if I'm avoiding something within me, then how honest can I be to other people? Um, and sometimes honesty and like internal honesty, self-honesty, I don't think that's a word, a phrase. Sometimes being honest with myself requires me to talk about it with somebody else. Like I can't see it. It's so amazing how little we're able to see in our own behavior, in our own fears. And I can on a, regular basis interact with somebody and think to myself, they don't see that about themselves. Whether it's they don't see how beautiful they are, um, or they don't see their own fears, but I can see it. I can see it clearly. Why can't they see it? Um, because I don't know, it's hard. That's part of being human, I guess. Because a lot of that stuff that we can't see about ourselves is disguised as something else. And I've talked about that a lot about the emotional color wheel and how we can we can be fearful of something, but it's disguised as jealousy or anger or something like that. And I think that it takes practice. It takes a lot of this self-reflection, whether you use step 10 or you use the four absolutes. I remembered this time. It doesn't some it sometimes it just takes me a little longer. Um, whether, whatever you're using as a guide for self-reflection, um, it can be practiced and we can learn. I know this from experience. I'm not an expert from a medical or psychological standpoint. I'm an expert from living it, that we can learn how to be more honest with ourselves. We can learn how to see the things that we couldn't see before. And then once we're able to be more honest with ourselves, it's like these choices all of a sudden unfold. You know, when I'm in denial, I don't have I don't have any choices because I don't see any need for change. But when I become honest, um, self-aware enough to become honest, then all of a sudden I have choices in my life about how I'm going to respond, how I'm going to respond to myself, and how I'm going to respond to other people. So, how honest have I been? This is fun. Okay, the next one is how pure have I acted? Okay, so I'm not even going to look at my notes and I'm going to tell you that. What does that mean? I don't know. How pure have I acted? Okay, my notes say it's about motive. Um, and that is, I think, very much in line, like that rhymes, not literally, but more like from a, I don't know, self-reflection standpoint. That kind of motives rhymes a little bit with honesty, right? So um when I'm doing things throughout the day, why am I doing them? So I guess it's different than honesty. Why am I doing them? Um, am I reaching out to this person because I want to help them? Or am I reaching out to this person because I want them to admire me? That's the example I put. Am I reaching out to this person out of love, or am I reaching out to this person out of ego? And believe it or not, the more of a habit I make that to look at my motives. I don't like the word how pure have I acted, but alas, that those are the oh shoot, what's it called again? The four absolutes. There it is. Um, pure is the word that's in it. So, but motives, just, I can understand that a little better. So, why, what's driving me to behave a certain way? And the more that I look at that, the more I can see that I sometimes am, um, not disguising, but the more I look at my motives, the more I can see that I can't think of the word, not being authentic sometimes. Even though I think I am, I'm not, if my motives aren't right, let's say I'm reaching out to someone out of ego instead of love, that doesn't make me a bad person. That's what I'm trying to say. So if I can continue to look at things once again in real time, while I'm doing them and look at the motive, I can become more authentic than I even thought that I could. I'm becoming more authentic. Like I didn't think I was inauthentic. So I start behaving with integrity. And I feel like motives are very sneaky. I think that we can do things for for the purpose sorry, I'm having trouble with words. I think that we can do things with the wrong motive and be completely unaware of it, even if we look at it. But again, it takes practice. So, a simpler version of the four absolutes is to look at when I'm doing something or when I'm about to do something in almost any situation. I'm looking at my character and I'm asking myself, is this honest, pure, unselfish, and loving? So let me go back to the four absolutes. So the fact I'm not going to say unselfish. I don't like that word because I can be kind and healthily selfish at the same time. So is it, am I being loving, kind, honest, and pure? That's it. Am I being loving, kind, honest, and pure? What are my motives? Am I being kind? Am I being honest, kind, and loving? Loving. I'm laughing at myself. What are my motives? Am I being loving, kind, and honest? You know what I'm doing? I'm like, what rolls off the tongue? What are my motives? Am I being loving, kind, and honest? So the four absolutes, it feels good. I don't know, like as I'm talking to them, it feels good. It's like instead of turning away from danger, I'm turning towards um something good. Instead of turning away from bad, I'm looking at it from the perspective of turning towards good. Um, and I think it's important to just make sure that when we're looking at the four absolutes, what are my motives? Am I being loving, kind, and honest? That it's progress over perfection. These are a compass that are meant to direct us towards the person that we want to become. So, just to rewind just a little bit, instead of like step 10, and I'm not discounting step 10, I live by step 10, but looking at them from a perspective like step 10 versus the four absolutes, it's like step 10 is turning away from the person I don't want to be, and the four absolutes are turning towards the person I want to become. That's a better way to look at it. Um, and it happens moment by moment, one day at a time, one decision at a time. And they're all about moving us in the right direction. So that's it. That's it. That was good. I think that was good. I'm going to give myself a round of applause. Thanks for listening, and I will talk to you next time.